few months ago, I made a video being fully transparent about my finances. Something most people are afraid to do because it's been so normalized to hide it. In a world where over 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, there's an immense shame that comes with being in that group. In fact, it's easier to just hide your finances than to admit that you've fallen victim to a system designed for you to overconsume. And the crazy part is, even if you don't live paycheck to paycheck, you're still going to be accosted by min-maxers. And if you don't know what that is, min-maxers are people who like to minimize and maximize literally every aspect of their financial lives. We don't like them out here because they don't actually take into account the fact that you're only human. These people are the types to save every special item in a video game because it might be useful later, only to reach the end of the game with a full inventory and nothing to do with it. There's value in playing the game that way, but you get diminishing returns past a certain point. Just like the opposite behavior of using every item right as you get it will also be to your detriment. If you apply this metaphor to real life, then the two archetypes you end up with are the FOMO spenders and the investor bros. Now, if you put these two archetypes on a spectrum, here's where they'd be. Now, there's a funny phenomenon that occurs when people start to experience significant financial growth. They get a bigger apartment, a faster car, more streaming services, and little by little they start to develop a lifestyle that the old version of them could never maintain. And this phenomenon is called lifestyle creep, where as you earn more money, the more expensive your life becomes. Funny enough, this is actually very common among software engineers, especially the ones that don't come from money. You spend your whole life poor, and when you finally get a little money, the little kid inside you who never got all the cool toys starts to lose their mind and buys unnecessary things, like this. That was me when I got my first job during the pandemic. I spent so much money on things that I would sometimes stare at the Amazon homepage and ask myself, what do I want? And I just kept going until I could no longer answer that question. And part of me feels like I needed to do that. But the logical part of my brain knows that a lot of that money could have been saved or invested. But then the question becomes, which one would have been more fulfilling? I wasted a pretty big chunk of change on that skateboard, but I also made a lot of memories with it. Would I give that up for 3 times what the skateboard's worth? Probably not. So deep down, I don't really feel like the money was wasted. Going on that spending spree taught me a lot about myself, but only because I was paying attention. I learned that I don't crave material things like fancy cars or designer clothes. I live for memories and experiences, and my spending habits reflect that. All you'd have to do is look at the last video. I literally flew to Japan. That wasn't planned at all. That was a last minute thing that me and my friends just put together. Totally worth it though. And now I know exactly what you might be thinking, but I didn't actually buy this Tesla as a status symbol. I bought it because 16-year-old Devontae thought it was the coolest thing he had ever seen. And having my own car means that I can truly explore and be adventurous in a country designed almost entirely for cars, but without having to pay gas prices like these. But now that I'm older and a little wiser, I've learned that both ends of the spectrum are not actually that good for you, at least not the average person. The best place on the spectrum is actually somewhere in the middle. You're not a cold-blooded reptile, so rejecting all forms of unnecessary consumption is a pretty rough way to live, especially if you're not naturally frugal. But on the other hand, you must also understand that as a human, your desires and cravings can also be your worst enemy. So buying the new Yeezys or whatever the heck these are because you don't want to feel left out, or overspending in general just to fuel your dopamine addiction, is counterproductive, especially if you're not filthy rich. Self-awareness is your best friend here. You need to first understand what makes you feel fulfilled and what things in your life need to be prioritized. And the easiest way to do this is to create an actual budget. And if I were you, I would actually use Notion for this, because writing it down on paper would probably expose my horrific handwriting, and budgeting apps like Copilot cost money. You see why that's ironic, right? But in the spirit of transparency, I'll share the new budget I created for myself. It's designed to strike a balance between investing in my future and enjoying the present. And using Notion made this really easy because there's tons of page templates to choose from, and among them are a few really good budget templates. Also, this is all free, so you can click the link in the description if you'd like to follow along. Alright, so here's what my budget looks like. It's incredibly simple already, but Notion makes it simpler. In fact, what you're looking at is actually this template that I found among the many budget templates that are on Notion. You can even create your own like this one if you want to expand the functionality of this page. But for mine, I figured a simple table would do. When creating a budget, the best thing you can do is list out all your expenses. So here are mine, from rent and car insurance all the way down to my subscriptions and cell phone plan. Each one is marked by category so I can sort by category or even amount if I want to. and as I add, remove, or change things, the sum at the bottom is recalculated for me. Way better than doing this in Excel, I'll tell you that. Ideally, I'd like to get really granular with this and have these individual expenses open up into pages where I can list out the breakdown of exactly what I'm spending money on. That way, I can identify the things that I'm paying for and make cuts where necessary. The second part of a good budget are the goals you intend to meet. Here are mine down here. At this point, I'm tired of my rent money evaporating into the abyss, so ideally I'd like to buy an apartment so that my rent goes towards equity in an asset. I'd also love to pay off my car, which will definitely take another 2 years, but we'll get there. I'd also like to get promoted from Software Engineer 2 to Software Engineer 3. Not only will this boost my income, but it will also strengthen my job security in the long run. My final goal is to reach 50,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of the year. I haven't revealed how much money I make from YouTube, but I'll probably do that in my next salary and expenses update. So yeah, that was my budget. Definitely look into using Notion if you're planning to create one for yourself. Quick note, I also got to try Notion's new Q&A beta, which is basically an AI workspace assistant that's informed on all of the data inside of my workspace. So I could ask it pretty much anything, like the status of my next video or what my most expensive expense is. In conclusion, striking a balance in your financial life is not about denying yourself enjoyment or living in constant fear or anxiety about the future. It's about understanding your values and establishing clear goals, and making conscious decisions that align with those financial goals. And remember, it's okay to treat yourself every once in a while, but it's equally important to take a step back and invest in your future. So, in the spirit of this video, examine your lifestyle and adjust where necessary. At least that's what I'll be doing. Also, do me a favor, I'm literally almost at 20K. So, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and get me there. I don't know, maybe I'll do a giveaway or something. I don't even know what I'll give away. I have things. I have stuff to give away. I have things. But also, leave a comment down below suggesting what I should do when I finally do hit 20K. Until next time.